Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness. Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast.
What really matters when it comes down to it. I think we've seen so many people who have given up their families and their opportunities of parenting to chase a career. And in the end, this may sound crass, but it's money. And yes, there is a foundational need. And I recognize I say that from a very privileged spot. But you can transform your kids. And so that would be my starting point of put the parameters in place first, because the business can take over.
I want to invite you into the Business Network, my free school community for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to grow their network and scale their business. Inside, you'll get step-by-step lessons, monthly workshops, feedback, scripts, resources, bonuses, and a community of like-minded people who believe in helping each other win. Join us today at school.com/thebusinessnetwork and click Join Group. I'll see you inside.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona, and, we hit over 1,000 interviews, which is fantastic. But my guest before the show hits, I shouldn't even know I'm going to say this, hit something about moms and business. It's growing. I know a lot of moms. I'm going to assume our guest is a mom, and we'll ask her when we bring her on. But that's a powerful thing, because tied to that is performance. Performance as a mom, performance as a business owner. They're two different things, but they're bridged together. So before we start, let's do our gratitude for today. Always stay true to yourself. You are perfect just the way you are. Are you staying true to yourself? That's a challenge I do every day, and we all deal with that. But you are the best you can be, and just keep being the best. So with that being said, let's bring our guest on. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here today, Steve.
Are you a mom and all that?
Oh, I sure am. Both a human mom and a dog mom. So I have two amazing boys that are 10 and 5. They just had birthdays, so I cannot say almost 10. And then I have a golden retriever and a Yorkie mix. So I've got a full house, and a husband too.
Yeah, throw him in there in a second. Let's bring the hubby in. Well, I love the dogs thing too. I don't have kids myself, but I do have a dog sitting right here next to me snoring, which is great. Performance. Your business is the Pinnacle Performance. Pinnacle, top. Tom Brady, Prince, Michael Jackson, Pinnacle.
Yeah.
95%, 98% won't reach the Pinnacle. Why Pinnacle Performance?
Pinnacle Performance, I think it goes to your gratitude. To me, it's, are you doing your best? I have a sign that I've kept on my desk. I learned it from a swim coach when I was growing up. It's always do your best. And to me, that is the most you can strive for. And that is attainable by everyone. So for me, it's an internal self measure. If I can push myself, to the limits, I can reach that Pinnacle Performance.
I love that. That's one of the best answers I've heard about success, is just do your best. How do you handle that with your clients? Are you going to have clients that are going to call you or your team and go, Leslie, oh my God, we just lost 3 big contracts. I'm not doing my best right now.
Yeah, you know what? I think first of all, in those instances is starting with giving grace. Usually if somebody shows up like that, it is, they are in a time of stress and they might not show up as their best self. And, it is giving them grace. And usually it's built on a solid relationship that happens before then. But then, it's a combination of empathy and pragmatism, of, acknowledging fear or loss as a human being. We find that in business. So many people forget that we're still humans when we show up in the business world, and you have those feelings and emotions. And that's why, remembering grace and empathy, having strong foundational relationships with clients is so important, because that allows you to process and then get to the pragmatic, like, all right, now we got to get stuff done. Like, here's the facts. We're at A, we need to get to K. Like, how are we going to get there? And like, let's make a plan and get it done. So I think it takes both parts of both your heart and your brain to bridge those instances.
Said something interesting, very simple. We all know we're humans. Look in the mirror, you're a human. You're not
Yeah.
an alien. You're not a dog, cat, or a kitten or whatever, but you're human because what you said is powerful. An audience, she's talking about even when you hit the pinnacle or you're at the top of your top, still be human. The grace, the empathy, because it's lost. Lottery winners teach us that all the time. I just read something that was a few months ago. I won $40 million. It was gone in 6 weeks. Or 6 months. Still, I don't know if there's empathy, grace. I don't know, but it's interesting. So it's both sides of that. When you're struggling and you're super successful, which I want to point out was so great. But here's the power of this grace. How do we do it? Because I have entrepreneurs. I love your grace and gratitude, Steve, but I don't know how to do it. How
Yeah.
would you answer that question?
Well, I think there's so many different tools. So if we're talking about, performance from a business perspective, one of my key things is you need to have a strategy, but execution is what makes or breaks you. So a lot of our work is, I would say, like, what comes after the PowerPoint. You can have the pretty thing all written out, but like, you got to roll up your sleeves and get dirt under your fingernails to make stuff happen. And so from a business perspective, I think it's taking the risk, getting uncomfortable, and taking, you actually have to take the bites and make stuff happen. You got to take the risks. As an entrepreneur, you're never going to have all the information, like, hands down. And at the end, you can do all the analysis, but you have to trust your gut. You have to know what your risk tolerance is, know what you're putting out there, and then go after it.
And mentorship like you as well. It's powerful. We can't run this ride together. And I'm glad you mentioned uncomfortable. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because that's a qualifier audience out there. If you're looking to start a business, be an entrepreneur, I think Leslie will agree with me. Uncomfortable is part of your DNA. If you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, please don't do it or learn it. How would somebody learn to be uncomfortable and accept it?
The tip I always give entrepreneurs is you have to sit with it. I think about what is the worst thing that could happen. So you have to just really get comfortable with, negotiations. They call it your BATNA, your best next alternative. And like, what is that going to look like? And I remember I bought this company almost 14 years ago. And when I did that, I kind of put everything on the line. And I'm not sure we were actually married yet. My fiance and I at the time decided, like, if it all goes south, if we lose the house, if we lose everything, we go live in a tent on the beach in Hawaii for like a month. Then we go back and live in my parents' basement. We'd start over. We both were, well educated. I knew I could get another job. But once I sat in that for a while, I was like, okay, like, I could live through. I mean, that would be it would be awful to lose my house and all my savings and everything. But if that's really how bad it's going to get, like, I can sit in that and experience that, and it reduces the fear, that allows you to go there. I think there is still a little bit of like crazy risk tolerance that comes with starting a business, but also surrounding yourselves, you have to have that and surround yourselves with the people who keep you tethered to the ground.
I got a little nervous listening to your story. I got uncomfortable listening to you. And I've had many people on my, 1,000 guests, not all of them, but a lot of them have said the same thing. But I love it. You had that plan B and you were comfortable with the plan B. Because, manifestation, we want to be positive. I did positive for the show. But there's also, hey, like you, it didn't work. I'm going to live in Hawaii for a month. My husband's accepting it. We're both agreeing. We're going back to our parents and we're going to start over. How many successful people do you know, clients you work with, have done that? A lot.
Of sat in the discomfort, yes. I don't know anyone who's actually gone and lived on the beach in Hawaii.
Oh, no, yeah. I think we're dreaming now.
Yeah, right. But I think you have to sit in the discomfort, and that's what, makes you able to move forward.
Yeah. let's dive into the mom entrepreneur. I told you I work with the Law and Listen, which is very cool. And I think nowadays it's more important. I'm in California. Everybody knows it's extremely expensive to live here. I think it's $250,000 you have to make both salaries to make it here. And parents are both working. I know of kids and you have kids. It's a different, but what would you tell a mom entrepreneur listening that wants to take that leap?
Um, know what matters. I think in the end, even if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're going after business, always know what matters. And if you already saying you're a mom entrepreneur and not hiding that word mom behind something else, you're stating your priorities very clearly. And I've lived on both sides of the fence of trying to hide from being female and just trying to be. I started out as an engineer in the automotive industry and try to fit in as one of the guys. And it has taken me decades to even be comfortable saying I have a women-owned, women-led company. I didn't want to put that brand out there because I was afraid of what it would mean. So I think even if you're a mom and you're saying I'm a mom entrepreneur, you should stand up and be super proud of what that is and be super clear on what your boundaries are. Because in the end, you can launch a business and you can fail a business, but you only get to raise your kids once. And what really matters when it comes down to it. I think we've seen so many people who have given up their families and their opportunities of parenting to chase a career. And in the end, this may sound crass, but it's money. And yes, there is a foundational need. And I recognize I say that from a very privileged spot. But you can transform your kids. And so that would be my starting point of put the parameters in place first because the business can take over.
Yeah. And you're not crass when you say money. I interviewed I think he's a billionaire, but he's extremely successful. And he said one thing after the show, he didn't say it on the show, was, Steve, I've got 2 cars. My wife's got a car. We got 3 homes, 2 vacations, all this. We've got a plane. But when I die at my memorial, there's not going to be pictures of those on the memorial. There's not going to be me flying my plane. That's my journey. But when it ends, that's all gone. It goes to somebody else or whatever. So thank you for sharing that because we hear it a lot. But we need to keep hearing that because that's not your legacy.
When actually, that's been a really key part of how I have defined my legacy. Early on in becoming an entrepreneur, I went through an exercise and it was like, what do you want things to feel like when you die? And I imagined an old-fashioned scale that's got the weights on 2 sides, and I had dollar signs on one side and heart on the other. And I made the determination then if I die and the heart side is heavier than the dollar sign, I was just fine with that. And that guiding principle has enabled me to unlock so much in my business of making the decisions that are right by my values and by my heart and aren't making me the best marginal dollar. But when you have the ability to lead with that sort of faith and that commitment, and you're not afraid of the cost, the final ticks and tallies and costs, checks and balances, you get to do some really amazing things.
You just gave us the description of a servant's heart in business. Is that scale? I just wrote that down. I'm actually going to do an image on AI. Yeah, I'm going to use AI because I think that's powerful that people can look at. And it comes probably from your engineer background, the scale too, a little bit, which I love. But thank you for sharing that. Audience, this woman's brilliant and she's done it for 14 years. And I always say, and I had a conversation yesterday at church, I would work for a woman any day, any night, because they're taking over business. Again, it's female, male. There's differences, but again, let's go back to human. You're my boss. You said it. I have a bunch of coworkers. I don't have employees. That's where women are going to take over business. They're going to treat it like a family, where guys treat it like I was going to say toy, but that's not the right thing. But, treat it as a power move. Guys, it's a good thing to listen to is power is not so good anymore.
Yeah, I think I just think we've lost humanity. We've lost humanity so much in the workplace and our world around us. And if we just stop and realize we're all human beings. And another thing we really believe in our organization is that you can't separate yourself from work. You are a full human being. You are your family, what your what's going on outside of work. You're what's the world around you, and you show up at work. And I think we came from a point where people were supposed to shut it all at the door and put
Yeah.
themselves in this like happy, polished face. And it just doesn't work. If you just let your team show up as their full human self, sometimes that means they're going to cry. Sometimes it means they're going to be really crabby and it has nothing to do with the work. But if they don't have the weight of trying to filter that out coming into work, they can put so much passion into the work that they are doing.
Yeah, you're running the business such the right way with the servant's heart. I talked to somebody that had a job and she was going to take 6 weeks off for surgery. He said, you can take 3, but you can't 6 or you lose your job. Legal or not, I don't know, but it was like right away culture came to my head. And listening to you, culture comes to my head is like people are going to want to work there and they're going to want to stay. And money's not always the issue.
Yeah, I mean, we do say when you come work here, you're not coming to make the most amount of money. That's just not the trade-off. But it is we lead by the rule: take care of yourself, take care of your family, do good work in that order. And as we had started talking about moms, our model is everyone who works at Pinnacle is hourly, and they get to pick the target amount of hours that work for them and their family. And so we started doing that well pre-COVID. Before it was in vogue. Now it's very, in the gig economy, it's the thing to do. But what that has allowed us to do is tap all these amazing employees. Some of them are moms, some of them are pre-retirees. In fact, actually, we have some really amazing dads who are supporting wives and families where wives have these really highly demanding jobs. And it's allowing people to pick the amount of work that fits into their life and allows them to live the life that they want has been a huge unlock and opportunity for us.
Leslie, you just had some of the audience cringe. I could just see them just go, oh, business owners. But business owners and people listening, and I'm listening to this because I got employees now, is you're super successful. You're not poor. You're not bankrupting your business. You've been successful for 14 years. I want to point that out because that's like, oh, yeah, she's saying that, but in the background, she's barely making it. No, you guys are successful, right?
We are. I think I always view it as, be humble. We're always humble about success and
Yeah.
not take it for granted. But yeah, we've been able to do what we're doing for 14 years and continue to support an amazing team on the journey.
Yeah, and success could be just everybody gets a paycheck every 2 weeks, month, whatever the time frame is. To me, that's success. You're
Compared to
taking
the
care.
first year, that is success.
Yeah, I can imagine. And thank you for sharing that because you listening out there, starting a business, there's going to be a bumps in the road and it's just going to go with that. So what would you tell people to, because I know people listening, they're going, Leslie, because I'm doing it and I know I do it the way you would. How do I start that? I'm on the wrong road here where I'm yelling at my employees, not giving them time off. I'm doing the non-servant heart way. How do I pivot that to be more like your company?
I think the first thing is you have to release control. And in that, I mean, you have to be flawed. You have to show up as a flawed human being. And sometimes I say I'm like breaking all the rules of all the business books, but you have to admit when you're wrong. It's kind of like parenting, in that sense. And you have to, you know, if you're crabby one day or you're making the wrong call, you have to be willing to go back and say why you were wrong. So if you're trying to change, you have to be humble enough to go to your organization and say, hey, I'm trying to do this differently and it's going to be hard. And here's what I need from you. And I would be I would confident you'll get the support, but you have to ask. And I think it's very hard in leadership positions. We're told to be this strong top person who has no cracks, but in fact, you're just a human surrounded by other humans, and humans are flawed. And when you're okay showing up with those flaws and vulnerability, I think the rest of it starts to come more easily.
Let's go back to performance. I love that you said that because did anybody leave when you came in and said, hey, I made a mistake here? That was the wrong this. And the people just get up and say, okay, I'm giving you my 2 weeks and leaving, right? Has that really ever happened?
Think so.
Rarely.
No, but I think it's also admitting that like my job isn't to make that workplace that's perfect for everyone. it's not going to be perfect for everyone. And there are some people that it doesn't work for, and that's okay. And that I think is also as a leader is giving yourself permission that, you have to believe in your heart and your values, the organization you're trying to create, and building the confidence that it's not okay for everyone. That's a hard road. And, for people, I'm a huge empath and highly feeling, and it's still hard for me when it doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
But that is actually part of making a great organization, is recognizing it's not going to be the perfect fit for every person, and that's okay.
You're catching what I'm putting down. I was leading you that way and you went way past it because that's a servant's heart. You do something like that, the stupidest thing, Leslie, I'm leaving. This company's never going to make it. Well, it's not good for them. It's not good for you, obviously. So you actually serve them by going, XYZ person, yeah, well, let's release you from your contract, or your work employment, whatever that is, because you're going to find a better place that's going to make them successful. You're going to bring a new person in that's going to be successful. Thank you for bringing that up. I love talking about that because people are so. I can't fire that guy. I'm just going to let him keep going. Why? Why don't I disrupt the culture of the company? He's disrupting or she's disrupting the culture of the company because you're keeping them around.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Absolutely.
You're brilliant. I get why you're successful. What does your future look like in your business the next 2 to 3 years?
I kind of right now I'm in the phase where I view our business as a bit of a laboratory.
Hmm.
For better or worse, I'm always like, let's try something new. I get bored easily. And that's something that could drive people nuts about working here but I just think we have this really, one of the things I sit with is being really conscious of not being the linchpin in my organization, of really wanting to create something that is so much bigger than me and isn't tied down by me. And I have the opportunity to work with just an amazing group of extremely wise colleagues. People are 20 plus years experience, experts in their field. And so right now we're playing with a couple different things of, I would say maybe the two things that everyone's playing with. One is AI, which is, that's a whole discussion into itself. What is that going to do to us? And then the other one is, how do we start to create this space that brings together really smart people who want to solve problems, and creates there's all this there's kind of the idea of like, define what your business does and then hire the right people for it. And I think I'm interested in testing, what if I found the right people? Can we flip then to say, what do they want to do? And then use the organization we've created as the vessel to get there.
Yeah.
So that is one of the big things we're working on. And then I just found peace with our AI journey about a week ago of, there's so much going on. And as a business owner, you kind of feel out of control of, I'm like, man, I'm almost 50 years old. I'm not sure I'm ready to like start a company again. And that's sort of what it felt like. And we finally did some strategic planning. We're just making the declaration that we're going to bet on human wisdom. We're going to use AI as a tool to advance human wisdom, but we are putting our cards behind the fact that in the end, the human brain does mean something and matter, and that judgment is important. And I found a lot of peace since just making that declarative statement, and being able to lead according to it.
Yeah, necessary evil AI. And there's a human behind every AI. Every AI you and your team I use, there's a human behind it. We forget that. And I'm glad you're doing that. It's going to be a game changer. Well, let's get to know, let's end with, who is Leslie?
Who is Leslie? Well, that's interesting. I normally
I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
This is a unique question. I'm not know anybody's asked this type of question. So I'm going to come out where you live. I'm going to reserve a table at a restaurant, your favorite restaurant.
Okay.
I want you to do two things. I want you to invite 3 people. Your family's coming, your husband, your kids, they'll be there. But 3 people have been very influential in your life to bring you here today. And 2, I'm a foodie. I want you to order the food for the table. So what would that be?
Ooh, that's tough. We might
It
have to
is.
have like we might have to do it without my children because they're very picky
That's
eaters. So
fine.
we'd be
That's
eating hot
fine.
dogs and chicken nuggets. I would say if you're coming to Minneapolis, I would probably take you to my tried and true proven 112 eatery. So Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a amazing. I think the chef is James Beard Award winning.
Oh,
Just an amazing place. It's been my husband and my go-to for years. And so I'll start with the food. That I would get the Boston Bib salad, which has like puffs of finely grated Parmesan on the top and like the lightest vinaigrette. And they have my favorite is the gnocchi, which has more like crispy Parmesan, uh,
mm,
sort of broiled on top, and they're like little pillows. They're like little cloud pillows of gnocchi. And then we love their scallops. They come in an order of 3, so you always have to get an extra one if there's 2 of you to share. And then the tres leches cake would be my dessert. So the food I've got down.
you
Uh,
and I'm happy. I'm happy.
yeah.
Everything you decided.
The people who have had an influence on my life, those are like, oh, and I have to pick 3. I know for sure one of them would be my swim coach growing up. I think I already referenced the always do your best. I had an opportunity to reconnect with him in the last couple of years doing some nonprofit work together. The most impactful person in my life outside of my parents, hands down, who really showed me how I could reach my maximum potential and pushed me to do things I didn't think I could do. So that would be one of them. As I think about the rest of my life, it's a little tricky. I've been lucky to have a ton of mentors. And so I would say one of them would probably be, now I feel bad, I'm going to forget people, but a mentor of
That's
mine,
okay.
the opportunity to collab. He came and worked at Pinnacle for a while. His name is Michael, a super successful business leader in and of his own right. It's like the one good thing that came out of the pandemic is he came and worked for me. And I'm like, why do you work here? You work for me. That's crazy. Now he's off running another company. But having the opportunity to work side by side with someone who's sat in the CEO seat of big organizations, sat in those top boardrooms, and have them only kind of thinking about your best interests has been just such a gift. And he is the person now, if things get hard or if I'm just unsure, I call him. And in some really tough times, he's been the one who's sort of talked to me through, like, it'll be okay. How do you get through this? And man, the third is tough. I mean, the person I want to say is my father, who unfortunately he just passed
Same.
away. It'll be a year ago this week. But my dad was an entrepreneur. He was a psychologist. He ran his own practice, and I remember asking him once, like, "Would you do it again?" Because I remember as a kid, like, there was no paid vacation, and we didn't have dental insurance. And he would, I mean, again, point of privilege, like, we had a very comfortable life, but I know there was a lot of stress. And, he came me to like, oh, these are the 2 reasons why it was bad. But yeah, I would totally do it all over again to be my own
Wow.
boss. And so I remember having that conversation, working in my yard when I was thinking about buying Pinnacle, and he was like, "Yep," and it was hard. And it was actually my parents who came through a couple times when those payroll situations were extremely hard and said, "We can't do a lot for you right now, but we can give you a loan." It's a very humble experience as a child, but
Yeah.
there's so many more unnamed, but 3 people who've definitely had an impact in where I've gotten to.
It's like the Oscars, they can't say
Yeah,
everybody.
right.
You got a short period of time, and what's your dad's name? Let's do a shout out to him.
Glenn Holman.
Glenn, shout out to you. You've done incredible. I know you're looking down very happy. How could people connect with you? Because you really have set a playbook here of how to run a business. I know people want to reach out.
Yeah, right now, a couple good ways to follow me. Probably the best one is on LinkedIn. Leslie Holman on LinkedIn, and I try to post a lot of content around just figuring out a better way to do things. For those people who are from a corporate perspective, My organization is Pinnacle Performance Group, and our website is pinnacleconnection.com. And we're really, our goal is to work with good people. So that is our filter. We have a no jerks policy, but we love to work with good people and help them find success and drive impact, and work from small startups all the way to Fortune 100 companies, in everything from strategy all the way through execution.
It's beautiful. I appreciate you taking the time. What wisdom you put out there. You look 20. I know you said you're in your 50s, but 14 years.
Not quite 50,
Okay,
almost
well, let's
50.
keep her in the 40s.
I got a couple of years left.
Okay, good. We're not going to ask her age. I know you guys out there like, don't ask the age. I'm not. Thanks again, Leslie, and audience. Share this out. And here's why it's such a great gift. You're talking to somebody and they're running a business and they're struggling. Like her mentor, Michael, did for her when she called. You could send this gift out and go, there's some tidbits here. I mean, the scale, the control, grace, be your best. There's so many tips that you could share. You've impacted somebody's life. That's what I truly believe podcasts are. They can make that impact. Not everybody, but if you impact one person, you can put your head on the pillow and sleep very well. So with that being said, me and Leslie want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.